Welcome to everyone joining us today. As Luke said, my name is Jessica Dowling and I am the Admissions and Recruitment Manager looking after the full-time programmes and our Executive MBA programmes here at Smurfit in Dublin, Ireland. So we have a very exciting and very jam-packed agenda for today, so I'll run you through that first. So firstly, you'll be hearing from Sophie Carey. Sophie is the head of our MBA programmes and she'll be taking you through an overview of the programmes available. Then we'll be hearing from Mark, who is our careers manager. He'll be talking a little bit about the sectors based in Ireland, the support that you'll get from a careers perspective on the Smurfit MBA, and just a little bit more information about how that works here with us on our programme. Then we'll be doing just covering the UCD Smurfit MBA student experience with Daniel and Sri. Daniel and Sri, they both just completed the full-time programme here with us just this summer. And then finally, I'll be doing an overview of the admissions process itself. So what you need in order to be eligible, how to apply, the application process and everything like that. But before we kick off on that, we have a short video featuring our academic director, Cal Muckley. If you could play that, Luke, that would be great. Thank you.
Our MBA program is a world-class program. It's delivered in an excellent educational environment. We're a triple accredited business school, placing us among the top 90 business schools globally. And indeed, our MBA program year on year is ranked in the top 100 in the Financial Times. Why do we have a world-class MBA program? Well, I think first and foremost, it's about the content that we deliver. So I'm thinking here naturally about economics, entrepreneurship, finance, marketing management strategy, delivered by accomplished and experienced faculty and practitioners. Bringing all this together, we have a theme of globalization, a theme of internationalism that really changes the outlook of our MBA students as giving them the hard content, the language and the ideas of business, and really producing graduates with a new outlook on the world and who can perform very, very well in the international job market.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Luke. My name is Sophie Carey, as Jessica already alluded to, and my role here is Senior Manager of MBA Programmes in UCD Smurfit. And first of all, just to say good afternoon, and we're delighted that you could join us today, and thank you for your time. I want to briefly talk to you about our MBA programme and the student experience. So first thing I want to mention is why Ireland. Lots of people consider our programme because Ireland is English speaking, it's a friendly country, it's a safe country. It's a popular choice for many students internationally, and our education system ranks very well in the world, according to the IMD World Competitiveness Report. So we're naturally considered a first choice for many students. And in addition to that, we are the European hub for over 1,000 leading multinational companies. And the next slide will show you that we're actually, Dublin-A Technology Hub. And here's an example of quite a number of companies that have either chosen to headquarter in Dublin or have their European headquarters here in Dublin. So there are thousands of companies that have invested here. And of course, our students often work in these companies and they also seek opportunities. We do have very close connections with a lot of these companies, as Mark will talk to you. So yes, technology, but also lots of other areas. So we're very much an international destination between the US and Europe, so situated very conveniently. Okay, so just moving on to the next slide, why UCD Smurfit? So on the top corner there on the left-hand side, you can see that we're consistently ranked in the top 100 of the Financial Times and of The Economist. So these are key rankings, and when people are looking to choose an MBA program, they naturally look to the rankings and how schools have performed. Just very recently, our Executive MBA was actually ranked in 62nd place worldwide, so a really good result for that program. And we've always been in the rankings for over 20 years. The next point on the right-hand side is really about our Triple Crown of accreditation. So again, when you're doing your research, you'll be looking to see what are the accrediting bodies and have they accredited our school? And we are one of less than 1% of business schools internationally that have the triple crown of accreditation from AMBA in the UK, AACSB in the US, and EQUIS in the EU. So that's really, really important for us to attract our students to the programme. And we undergo regular, rigorous accreditation, so you can be assured of the quality of our programme. And the final point is really around our alliances and memberships. And you can see that we're members and we have alliances with a range of global networks. And just one to highlight there, for example, is the Global Network of Advanced Management. We are the only Irish member of GNAM. And our students have, and I'm sure Daniel and Sri will talk to you later about this, but our students have the opportunity to participate in GNAM Network Weeks with, for example, Yale and Berkeley and Oxford, some of the other top business schools that are part of this network. We are the only Irish member of GNAM, and we make use of this. So while we are a Dublin-based MBA, we very much value our international networks and liaise with those networks on a regular basis. Okay, just to briefly summarise, and you may be already aware of this, that we have a full-time MBA programme. So we're speaking to you today, and you may be interested in our September 2021 offering, which is 1 year full-time. We also have an executive MBA programme, which is 2 years, and that would be 2 evenings a week on a Monday and a Thursday evening over 24 months. So again, commencing in September 21. And finally, we are planning to offer a monthly executive MBA in 2021. We are working out the details of that right now, and that should be advertised shortly. So that would be where you would come to campus once a month as opposed to every week. So a slightly different offering for people who value their time and maybe busy working executives. So that would be a new offering. So keep an eye on the website. In terms of the MBA Programme Overview, just to summarise really, I suppose our programme would be academically excellent. We have excellent faculty from all over the world who are experts in their field. We have a practical learning focus. So our MBA is taught through case studies, discussion-based. It's very practical, and there will be an awful lot of group work. So you would be working very closely with your fellow students in diverse groups. We would always incorporate global perspectives into everything we do. We have an advanced leadership development program. So this would be in addition to our core curriculum. The leadership development program is focused on creating leaders, helping people understand themselves, self-awareness, how to manage teams, how to work with others within organizations. And then finally, and Mark will cover this, we have a dedicated MBA careers program to help you advance your career post the MBA. Okay, and I'm almost finished now. So the next point, why the UCD Smurfit MBA? Well, clearly you can't be here today, and we would love to hopefully in the future welcome you all into our beautiful campus. Our classes are currently online due to COVID, and we transitioned very swiftly to an online process. And we hope that in September 2021, you will all be able to come and see our campus, and you got a glimpse of it there in our video. So we have a beautiful campus and fantastic top world-class facilities. Jessica will talk to you about our admissions process, and we are very selective, and we want to make sure the quality of the class is really strong so that you can be assured that your classmates are of excellent quality and can contribute to the class in the same way that you will. Compared to other MBA programs globally, we do have very small class sizes, and this is a real advantage because, and I'm sure our students will, our graduates will talk about this as well, you get to know your classmates very well, you get to know the MBA program team, you get individual attention compared to some very large MBA programs where you're lost in the classroom. That is not the case. So we typically have 30 to 40 in the full-time class and a similar number in our part-time class as well. As I mentioned already, we very much have a global focus, and we are the only Irish GNAM member. We have an extensive alumni network, so we have over 4,000 MBA alumni, and that's a really important aspect of our program to mention, that alumni network is key for you when you join our program in terms of job search, in terms of networking. We have people all over the world. We have global alumni chapters all over the world. And there is somebody in every walk of life doing every job. So, you know, if you are thinking of coming as you are to join our MBA program, I would also recommend that you do reach out and talk to our alumni about their experience on the MBA. I've already mentioned our international faculty. And then finally, I just want to say we do have a very large dedicated MBA team that are there to look after you, to support you. And if we just go to the next slide, you can have a look at all the people that are involved in the MBA program. So you saw Professor Cal Muckley in the video, myself as senior manager, and I manage the MBA program team of 4 people, Roisin, Aga, Ailish and Catherine, and we all manage the experience with you, the students. Mark is our MBA Careers Manager. Yola is our International Student Officer who helps our international students with any supports they require. And obviously you've met Jessica as well. So we have a comprehensive team here. We are very open to feedback. We are here to make your experience the best that it can be. And we are very adaptable, as we've had to be this last year, in terms of initiatives and ideas that will come from you, the students. So you can be assured that you will have an excellent experience here doing the MBA. So that's where I want to finish up. I just wanted to give a very brief overview of our MBA program, and I'll obviously be available for questions at the end. But I'm going to pass you on now to my colleague, Mark Davies, and Mark is our MBA Careers Manager, who will talk to you about the supports we have in the Careers Service. So thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Sophie. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me fine. So my name is Mark, and I'm the MBA Careers Manager at UCD Smurfit. So UCD, you may know, is Ireland's largest university, and there is a large undergraduate campus and then a dedicated postgraduate business school at Smurfit. So we have a separate careers service for undergraduates, and then one that I'm part of that's based on the Smurfit campus that just looks after our MSc and our MBA students. So within that team, my role is MBA Careers Manager. So I would meet with students, I would talk to employers, and then I would work with our experts who come in to deliver to the students as well. In terms of my background, I've been in business school career services for over 10 years. I spent 10 years at a business school in London, and then I moved over to Dublin and to Smurfit about 2.5 years ago, and I've really enjoyed my time here so far. So in terms of what we do as a career service, well, we're very much focused on job search. So Sophie touched on the leadership development program, which is really around your personal and professional development, and that's one of the key kind of USPs for the program, and one thing a lot of people say is their reason for choosing us. However, on the careers side, we're really focused on setting you up for finding opportunities after the MBA. So there are really 3 stages to that. One will be around you understanding yourself a little bit better. So working with you to help you identify and communicate your skills, your transferable skills, and also the type of opportunities that you might be interested in pursuing after the MBA, if indeed you don't know already. And then we have some support around finding those opportunities, so making you aware of where the jobs and employers might be. And then lastly, around supporting your application. So that would be everything from CV and cover letter review through to interview preparation and that kind of thing. So I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail today about everything that we offer, because that would take too long, and there are many things that we do that, of course, a lot of other career services at business schools would do. There are 4 things that do separate our offer from many other schools, though, and I just wanted to draw your attention to those. So the first one is unlimited careers coaching. So as Sophie said, we have a relatively small full-time and executive class. And that means that we don't have to kind of cap your engagement with us. So, if a student wants to talk about their career, then would just drop me an email and we'd arrange a meeting. So some people would meet us, only a couple of times a year, and other people would meet us quite a lot throughout the course of their program, and that's absolutely fine. The second thing there is we run a very successful alumni career mentoring program. So every year in January, we match each full-time MBA student with a senior MBA alumnus, and they would act as another sounding board and an advisor in terms of your career and, potentially help with local contacts and that kind of thing. The third one there is industry mock interviews. So each year we bring in recruiters and alumni from various different sectors and companies to give our students a realistic interview experience so that they can practice in a safe space before they're faced with a real thing. And then lastly, normally every year we run an MBA careers fair, an experience hire careers fair on campus. Now that didn't happen last year because it was right in the middle of the pandemic, but again, we'd be hopeful that that will run this year and indeed next year. And then in terms of where our students go afterwards, well, I think it's important to say any MBA program has a very diverse group of people joining it. So we would look to bring in that diversity of backgrounds into the class, and of course then diversity of aspirations. So students go into all sorts of different roles at all sorts of different companies. However, I would say there are, regularly a couple of clusters. One of them would be students pursuing careers in consulting and having an interest in consulting, and the other, partly obviously because of our location, would be in tech. But beyond that, you're talking a very wide range of different sectors and organisations. And then these were down to the company level. These would be some of the organisations that our students have joined over the last few years. I think just my reflection on the last couple of years here, I found the alumni network to be the main strength of the school, really. They're very, very supportive in terms of helping students find career opportunities after the MBA and getting involved in our activities. And I think, if you're coming from outside of Ireland, it's important when you're making your choice of business school to think about the location that you want to work in after the MBA. So as Sophie said, many people come to UCD because there's global experiences on the program, and UCD, being Ireland's largest university, does have alumni around the world. Having said that, of course, our reputation and our alumni network is particularly strong domestically. So if you're looking to work in Ireland or indeed the EU after the MBA, then we should be a strong, we should feature strongly in your consideration. So I'll probably leave it at that for now, and hand over, and happy to take questions again at the end.
Great, Mark. Many thanks for that. So I'm now just going to have a quick chat with two of our most recent alumni. So with Daniel and Tree. Both Daniel and Tree have just finished up on our full-time program. So hello to you both. Can you both hear me okay?
Hi, Jessica. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I think your mic might be a little bit funny, Daniel. Tree, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Hi. Yeah, I can hear you fine. I might start with you then, Tree, if that's okay.
That's perfect.
Great. So, Tree, you're one of our international students who came to join us in Dublin. So can you talk me maybe a little bit through what caused you to make that decision, and why did you pick the school here? Was there any sort of standout attributes that made you decide on the Smurfit MBA?
Sure, Sam. I think there were a lot of great attributes about UCD. Like, we've seen the triple accreditation, the fact that they've been consistently ranked in the top 100, and that they have a really international set of faculty as well as a curriculum. So I think that was a very important aspect of me choosing UCD. And I think the fact that Dublin is a great city with, a lot of tech companies and a lot of really huge companies having their European headquarters here, I think that was another added benefit for me as well.
Great, great. And how did you first come across the school? Was it through one of our Indian offices or from the webinars like this one?
Oh, it was actually from just my research on top colleges in Europe. Once I narrowed down that I wanted to come to Europe, I think, yeah, UCD is just there right at the top of the most preferred colleges, I guess. So it wasn't hard to come across UCD at all.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear. And, you know, when you joined the program, like, how did you find the transition from working to going back into studying? And were there any particular, you know, challenges on the program or any highlights in particular that you'd like to speak about?
To be very honest, it is a drastic change when you're used to working 9 to 5 and then you leave your, you know, good paying job, you have some sort of stability, you're used to that life, and then you get back to school. So regardless of whether it's an MBA course or an MS course, you're back to school. You have to sit and listen to your lectures, you have to do your homework, you've got your group assignments. So, but I think the great part of the UCD MBA is that starting right from the induction week, they give you a very good gist of how it's going to be. So you get straight to it and you learn how to adapt. And then it's just so quick that you wouldn't realize the time passing. But to answer your second question, I think what stood out for me the most would definitely be the leadership development program, because we had sessions ranging from public speaking to negotiation to, you know, strategy. So I think they gave these very good, usually 1 or 2 day sessions from really renowned professors and really renowned public speaking experts. I think that did a lot to, you know, somehow hone your soft skills and give you a very rounded development along with the course curriculum.
Absolutely. And did you take part in the GNM week that was mentioned, I think, part of Sophie's presentation?
I did. It was the Digital Business Innovation Week at UCD. And I think that was one of the best weeks throughout my entire program, because we visited Microsoft, we visited Facebook, we visited OnPost, that's the post office organization in Ireland, which was surprisingly the best visit to learn about their digital innovation. So I think that week was just really, really great and packed with a lot of learnings and an excellent way to make a lot of connections.
Great, great. And can you talk a little bit post-MBA? I know you're just finished. Have you been looking for work, or could you talk about that a little bit at all?
Yeah, so I am presently looking for work in the healthcare sector. So because digital health is a huge upcoming sector in Dublin, especially with them just moving on to the electronic health record implementations. And I won't get too much into detail on that, but there's so much happening, and there are so many companies, because it's a good mix of health and tech, which was similar to my background. So I worked in a healthcare company prior to this. So there are a lot of opportunities. So I'm just, again, like Mark emphasizes on the importance of networking. So I'm just talking again to all the people I spoke to, all the alumni that came for talks to our college. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I think it's just a great sector.
Great, great. That's fantastic. So I'm delighted that you enjoyed the program and that you got what you wanted out of it. Especially, I think the Leadership and Development program is really something that makes the program here particularly stand out, because, you know, it's really just that sense of self. Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you. I think, do we have Daniel back? Can you hear me okay? Daniel? I can't hear Daniel, so I don't know if he can hear me. Well, I'll tell you what we might do is just go ahead and maybe I can start talking about the admissions process. And then if we get Daniel back on the line, we might be able to talk to him. I'm not sure if he's joining us now. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hi, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm not sure what the technical issue was there, but hopefully you have me now.
No, we do. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. So again, you know, just a few similar questions. What was it that, firstly, why an MBA for you in your particular circumstance? And secondly, why was Smurfit the school that you ultimately decided to go with?
Yeah, so 2 very good questions. I guess why an MBA for me, my background is in civil engineering. So I'd spent just over 5 years working as a civil engineer. And I guess the best way to put it is that although I enjoyed being stuck in the weeds or the nuts and bolts of engineering, The larger organization picture always interested me. So how the publicly traded company that I worked for, I was always very intrigued and interested as to how this company operated on a daily to quarterly basis, how it acquired smaller companies and whatnot. So I guess for me to graduate from the nuts and bolts or the weeds of engineering, to have a better understanding and a better career in that organization or a similar organization, I seen the best use of my time was a 1-year MBA to allow me to do that. So I guess that would be the best answer to why, and that would then lead me to where I want to be in 5, 10, 15 years time. So that was why MBA, but why Smurfit? I looked at different MBAs in the UK, in America, and in Dublin, and I guess as Sophie and Mark have mentioned, and probably yourself, Dublin being a tech hub, and there just being generally just so many opportunities in Dublin was why it came down to Smurfit. But I guess when I looked deeper at Smurfit's course in comparison to other similar ones, the two main reasons I picked it would have been the learning and self-development aspect of it. So as you've mentioned, the leadership development program, GNAM, the different international trips. So while on my MBA, I did my GNAM course in Yale in the US. I also got to travel to Argentina, and then 2 other international trips would have been Washington and Lisbon. But yeah, the learning, self-development, and the network, the alumni, the UCD Smurfit alumni, as Sri will, I'm sure, will tell you as well, is very powerful in obtaining a job post-MBA.
Brilliant, brilliant. That sounds fantastic. And was there any sort of standout section of the MBA or part of the MBA that really stood out to you?
I guess all the international trips, or the availability of international trips going to, you know, as I said, Yale, GNAM, Argentina, Lisbon, Washington, all those trips. But I think the most powerful part of it is the Smurfit network. If you listen to what the careers team tell you to do, yeah, the network is the most powerful thing, because I guess an MBA is all about what you want to do in the future, and the network is the most powerful part.
And how did you utilize that? Was it through like one-to-ones, coffees, or events, or how was the best way to kind of access that network?
I guess your chain of thought on how to access all that and how you network is kind of well, for me anyways, and a lot of my classmates, you're kind of completely retrained how to network. I'm not sure if I properly knew how to network with people before my MBA. So I guess people like Mark and different people in the MBA will retrain you a bit on how to network. So that's been really helpful. As you said, going to coffees, LinkedIn messages, reaching out to alumni, and how to reach out to alumni appropriately, and how to get good responses. So again, it's part of the leadership development program in Smurfit. Again, it's teaching you all these very simple things you just maybe weren't aware of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think those are kind of key skills that you don't necessarily learn at undergraduate and aren't sort of innate skills, and definitely an MBA, it just brings you up to a different level, I think. Completely. Yep. Brilliant, thank you. So do either of you have anything else maybe that you'd like to add from your perspective that we haven't covered, or that I haven't asked you? I don't know, Daniel or Sri.
I don't think there's anything that I've left out. I think I've probably highlighted the network. The network within, probably, yeah, I've talked about the network outside the class, but the network within your class. I think Sophie had mentioned that the class sizes are quite small, as in there was 30 in my class, or 31. I think this year's is 41. So it allows, you get brilliant exposure to, there are brilliant professors and academic staff and non-academic staff in Smurfit. So you get excellent exposure to those people and time face-to-face with them, compared to a university where there may be 200 students. You wouldn't get that time. So I guess that would, if I was to mention one other thing, it would be that.
Yeah, I completely agree as well. Oh, I completely agree with Dan. I think the class is just really filled with really smart people from completely diverse backgrounds. Like, we had somebody from a musical background. We had 2 doctors, out of which one was a surgeon. We had somebody from the financial sector. We've had just people from every different sector. And I think in a class, when you're interacting for the same particular, say, for example, a case study, to see the different perspectives that build up because of their experience, that is very interesting. And I think it's that sort of learning that you learn from each other in the class. And I think that is just an absolute brilliant addition to the entire MBA program, just getting the perspectives of your really, really brilliant classmates.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You learn just as much from the people in the class with you than you do with the professional staff and the lecturers. Great. Well, thank you both very much for your time. We very much appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead now and talk everyone through a little bit about the actual admissions process itself. So why you're probably here today. So this is the admissions process slide here. So we are currently open for applications. We offer rolling admission. So we opened early October. All applications need to be submitted online through the smurfitschool.ie. If you go on to our MBA pages there, you'll be able to find the information about it there. The entry criteria are the following. So firstly, you need a university degree. If you are coming without a level 8 university degree, please do contact us, because sometimes that, you can go through a non-standard admission, but generally speaking, you do need a level 8 university degree. You also need, it's not too much called out there, but you need the minimum of 3 years work experience. But the average would be on the full-time program about 7 or 8 years work experience. And on the part-time executive program, it's about 15 years work experience. So if you're watching this today and you maybe have just 3 years work experience or are just coming up to 3 years work experience, I would actually recommend maybe applying in another year or two and kind of build up that experience a little bit more, especially any international experience that you can get. We also then do look for a GMAT score. So for the full-time MBA, it's a GMAT of 600 and over. And for the executive MBA, we look for a GMAT of 520 and over. We also accept the executive assessment for the EMBA, and that's 149 out of 200 that we look for. You'll also need 2 letters of recommendation, and these should come from your current or former employers. You'll need to complete 3 short essays. So these actually form part of the application form itself. So I mean, it's maximum 300 words. They're very short. They're really more like supporting statements, and they form part of the actual application form. And then the video interview, if you're doing the full-time program, you will be sent a link to complete a short video segment. It asks you some competency-based questions, and it takes about 15-20 minutes to complete. So once we get all of this in, along with your application fee, which is €50, your application will be assessed. And if you are deemed suitable, you will be asked to come in for an interview. These are obviously all now happening via Skype or Zoom, so it is a video interview, and they take about 45 minutes. And then within the actual interview process itself, what we look for is, there's 3 main things to keep in mind here. So firstly, we look at your core competencies. So we do look for people, as I said, who have a decent amount of work experience, who can demonstrate teamwork, a global perspective, who have problem-solving skills. Those would be the core competencies that we would be looking for. We also want to ensure that people are the right fit. As Sri mentioned there, you don't need to come from a particular background. We have medics, people from veterinary, from the arts, media, finance, tech, consulting. We have people from all different backgrounds, but it's really more about the attitude is what we really mean there by the right fit. So we want people who are happy to work with others, who are, outgoing, who are willing to get involved with the networking, with the clubs. That's really what we look for when we say right fit. And then finally, holistic review process. We look at all your attributes together. So it doesn't necessarily matter. Say, for example, you didn't do as well as undergrad as you wanted to, and you got maybe a 2-2. That, along with a strong work experience and a really good GMAT score, that doesn't preclude you from the process of applying to an MBA. We look at everything together: your interview score, GMAT EA, your CV, everything like that. So it is very holistic. It's not a tick box exercise. We do kind of look at each person in detail. And actually, this will just give you an idea of the full-time MBA versus the part-time executive MBA. I actually just saw a question earlier in the chat box, and actually just to answer it here, the only real difference between the executive MBA and the full-time MBA is the delivery method. The executive MBA is part-time over 2 years, and full-time is 1 year full-time. And also, as you can see here, sort of the cohort on the program. So on the full-time program, it's very immersive. You have additional, trips and opportunities. And really people do the full-time as a career changer. Maybe they're wanting to pivot out of the industry that they're in. They want to do something totally new. And they use the MBA to give themselves those core business skills, the leadership and development skills to go into a new industry. And you can see there, normally it's a slightly younger person, about 29 years old. It's quite an international program. And then the average GMAT score is 640. And then for the part-time program, it obviously offers more flexibility. It's key for people who are, based in Ireland, working in Ireland, and maybe want to accelerate their career while staying in the same sector. So, for example, if you do our executive part-time program Monday and Thursday evenings, what you learn in class on a Monday evening, you can apply to your workplace on Tuesday morning. It's instantaneous learning. So that's really important for people, and it really helps them accelerate their career. And then you can see a little bit there about the participant profile, a little bit older, a little bit more work experience. You can see actually that from that cohort, everyone in that cohort was already living and working in Ireland, but it's almost 30% international. So I think that as well just reflects quite how international Dublin is in terms of nationality and, where people come from. So it is a really, multicultural city in that respect. And then just finally to finish up, these would be some useful resources and tips. There's a huge amount of information that we have on the MBA that we can't cover all today, but I would say some key ones would be the UCD Smurfit blog. So that is a blog that's kept by our current students, and they write about experiences that they have on the program, the different trips, and it's a great way to get almost real-time information, directly from the MBA students themselves. We also have a number of recorded webinars. Obviously, at the start of the year with COVID, we would normally do a lot of in-person events, and these changed to virtual. And one of the positives of that is we were able to record quite a lot of it to make it available to people internationally. So if you check on our website, there's recorded webinars and events, and you can take a look there. There's taster lectures from Jim Powers. There's similar kind of lectures about like the one the webinar we're doing today, and loads of others. And there's also ones for our MSc programs as well, in case you know anyone interested in that. We have the YouTube channel. We've lots of information available there as well. That has a lot of videos and resources on it. And then scholarships. We do have a number of scholarships for the MBA. I would recommend that you check that web page, as it has all the details. For the majority of scholarships, they are merit-based, firstly. And secondly, you don't need to submit an extra application form. The actual application for the scholarship is within the initial application. So it's quite clear from our website and from the application form, but do let me know if you have any questions on that. And then finally, we do have a number of upcoming events. One in particular is a virtual open day that we're having for the MBA. That's on the 21st of November, and you'll be able to hear from myself and Sophie and Mark, but also more current students, alumni, and a few other people as well. So that's a day of events. And then we'll also be running some GMAT prep sessions. These will focus on the quantitative side. It's on the GMAT and the executive assessment. These will be done via Zoom. So again, we're hoping to open this up to people based outside of Ireland. And I will be able to send more details of that on in due course. So yeah, so as you can see, lots of different places to get your information from. And now I think we're going to go into the Q&A section. So Luke, are you happy to ask some questions?
Sure, I am. Indeed, we have already received a nice amount of questions from the audience, as we have a lot of people join in from different parts of the world, I can see. So that's great. Let's start it off. First question from Dipindra, asking what is the medium age from the MBA program?
Yeah, I can take that one. I think I just covered it there in one of the slides. So for the full-time MBA, it's about 29 to 30 years old. And then for the executive MBA, it's 35 to 36. So they're similar, but it's a little bit older on the executive program.
Great, thank you. Then there was also mentioned that there was an international study week. Prof. Vulia wants to know, is it offered to all students?
Well, the full-time program, yes. Yeah, Sophie, do you answer? Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that, Jess. Yeah, I presume that the person is referring to the GNAM week. So for the full-time program, the GNAM, which is the Global Network for Advanced Management, it's offered that week is available for everyone on the full-time program. It's compulsory, in fact. So everybody will go to one of the network schools. So that could be Yale, it could be Berkeley. As Shri mentioned, it could be UCD as well. And actually our own GNAM week is actually one of the most popular weeks. It's on digital business transformation, or it was this year and last year. You could go to Oxford. So yes, absolutely. All of our full-time students will go. And for our executive program, all of our students have the option to go. It's an optional module. So sometimes people don't choose to go for personal reasons usually, or family reasons sometimes, but everyone will have the option to go on that week. Yeah. So hopefully that's the answer to the question that was asked.
I hope so. Thank you, Sophie. Otherwise, we'll hear back. A question from Ronan. Ronan is asking, what credits can be gained from work experience? Can you say something about this?
Maybe Sophie, can you answer that?
Yeah, I mean, generally we don't offer any kind of credits. You know, you have to come in and you have to do your 90 credits for the MBA. Obviously, you know, I've been in this role nearly 2 years, so I don't remember any particular case of us giving credits. So generally, my answer is that my understanding is that there is practically no credit given. You come in and you do your 90 credits. So I'm not sure if that's the question in terms of credit for coursework. But, you know, I don't know, Jessica, would you know otherwise from an admissions point of view? But my understanding is you come in you start from zero and you have to gain your 90 credits over the coursework. And, you know, from a work experience point of view, there was another question there. You know, we do look for a minimum of 3 years work experience. So while we've mentioned our average age and our average work experience, we look for a minimum of 3 years professional work experience. Mm-hmm. But generally, we don't give any credit for professional experience. So I'm not sure, mm-hmm. Jess, if you have any further comments on that, or if I'm answering that question correctly.
I think you are. That's my understanding of that question as well. And no, it's not a case of that you can come in and join and maybe do, you know, 70 or 80 credits and then, you know, previous experience. Say, for example, there's a credit or there's a module on introduction to HR. You can't, and if you were a HR director, you wouldn't be able to have, say, get exempt for that credit based on experience or anything like that. So you would need to come in and complete the credits. I think that's definitely correct, and I think that's answering the question in respect to that.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a couple of questions about the GMAT. Lisa in specific was wondering what you would suggest to improve the scores, as she's generally trying still with the aptitude tests, and she would like a recommendation. She already has a master's, and she might be worried about that aspect of the application. Another question actually was the minimum score. I think you mentioned it, but just to repeat that.
Yeah, so in terms of, firstly, what I would say with the GMAT is you firstly need to identify where you're having the issue. Is it the verbal side, the quantitative side, the integrated reasoning, whatever that is, and then maybe look at working on that. The best advice I can give people is get the official guides and practice the questions, which isn't a particularly groundbreaking idea, or it's not a very, you know, it might not, you know, there's no sort of hack or anything like that to that. You do need to put the time in. That would probably be my best advice. Saying that, I haven't actually sat the GMAT myself, so I don't know if Daniel or Shri are still on the call and might be able to advise there. Either of you have any tips?
For the GMAT, I think it's all about it's about practicing whatever is not your strength. So if it's quantitative, it's just about doing those sums till you get the technique right, and it is all about timing. So you make sure that you're not spending way too much time just to get that one particular answer right. So I think it's about those small things, and I think the major aspect of it is practice. You've got to practice. You've got to understand what your limitations are. And there are, you can just buy the GMAT books and just practice that. I think a solid preparation of that, and you're started to get a really, really good score.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Related to that, there was a question about the minimum score of the GMAT. Can you mention that? And also that it is necessary to have the GMAT to be eligible to apply, correct?
Yes, so you can apply without the GMAT and then sit it at a later date. If you were to apply to the programme without a GMAT, and if you were made an offer, it would be a conditional offer, and you would have to meet that condition before you could join the programme. But we do look for a GMAT. We don't offer waivers on the GMAT. And for the full-time programme, the minimum would be 600.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. There's a question that came in from Stanislav. He says about English. He's fluent in English. He's actually lived in Ireland for years. Can he avoid taking the English knowledge test and the associated costs? Or is it still necessary if he's...
I wouldn't be able to answer that question full. It's that we do ask for one if you did not receive education in an English-speaking country. We do look for one. However, if it's on a case-by-case basis, it can be if you have worked here and maybe have short courses and qualifications here, the admissions committee may look at giving you a waiver, but generally speaking, no. But it is a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you. I hope that helped you, Stanislav. Otherwise, let us know. A question from Mahek is asking, is it possible to apply for the MBA program after finishing a bachelor's degree? I think you mentioned the need of a working experience. Can you confirm that?
Yes, you need a minimum of 3 years work experience, generally post-graduation. So as you can see from the statistics and the stats and which I gave earlier, 29, 30 years old would be sort of the younger side of applying, but you need a minimum of 3 years professional work experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Paul is asking, are there electives on the program? I read something about doing an MBA specializing in risk management, for example. Can you specify something about this?
Sophie, could you talk maybe a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have one MBA program which has core modules and there are some elective modules, but we don't have a specialized MBA. Some MBA programs globally would have a specialization. So ours is not that. But we do, obviously, as I said, we have all of our students will do a number of core modules, and there are some number electives that you can choose. But no, we don't kind of specialize in risk management. We don't have a kind of a specialist MBA offering. I mean, we are a small MBA program in terms of class size, relatively speaking, to some of the larger US schools, where they might be able to facilitate, at Yale, for example, specializations. But we don't. But we do have some core and some elective options for you. And you'll see all of that. If you go onto our website, smurfitschool.ie, you will see all of the list of the core modules and the options as well.
Great. Thank you, Sophie. Perfect. Question or also indication from Salin. He's mentioning I'm planning to apply for the 2021 intake. I have 9 years experience of working experience, a master's degree, and also the IELTS with an overall score of 7, fulfilling those parts. Can he apply now, although he hasn't taken the GMAT yet?
Yes, he can apply now. As I mentioned before, he can apply. And if he was to be made an offer, it would be a conditional offer. And then he would need to sit the GMAT by a certain date before the program starts. So no, he can do that.
Okay, great news, Salin. So go ahead. There actually is an apply button right in this webinar that leads you to the admissions page. So you can do that. Other question from Stanislav. How is the COVID-19 affecting the MBA classes? Well, we have 2 people from just the last months that are experiencing this. He's asking, in-person communication and collaboration are known to be a big part of the MBA, and it was mentioned a little bit by Dan and by Sri. Can you comment how this is affecting and maybe also how UCD is tackling this?
Yeah, I'll take that. It's a big question. It's obviously a challenge globally for programs and universities, but I can certainly talk about the current experience, and possibly Daniel or Shri might want to talk about their experience from March onwards last year when we did go online. But obviously, you know, COVID-19 is having a big effect on our program, and obviously on programs globally. So our students did come to campus for about 2 weeks, and they did come in, and we had our orientation week, and we had plans to do as much as we could face-to-face, socially distanced, and we had all our plans in place. But unfortunately, COVID-19 took over and public health guidelines took over. So currently, all of our programs are online. Excuse me. So, you know, it's certainly been a challenge, and it's meant that our students have had to adapt. And of course, all of our staff are working from home as well. The good thing is that we have kept our libraries open. We've kept our campus open to students. And in as far as we can, we've facilitated students coming in, using the library, using the facilities in as much as possible. Of course, adhering to all of the guidelines that are in place right now. So Dublin is currently in a level 5 lockdown for the next 6 weeks. So obviously we'll continue to be online for that period of time, and we haven't made a decision on our second trimester, but for this first trimester we have primarily been online. So what we've done is all of our lecturers have received significant training and really upskilled themselves, because we are very much a face-to-face university. We prefer to be face-to-face. We want to meet our students in person, and that hasn't. We have, I suppose, circumstances have worked against us a little bit this year, but all of our faculty have been trained, and we've done a number of things. I mean, we've live streamed sessions. We've used Brightspace for our sessions, which is our kind of learning module. We've also used Zoom quite a lot. So a lot of things are being used, and actually, you know, from my point of view and the program management point of view, one of the key things is really keeping the communication lines open with the students, because, you know, I think we miss obviously not meeting people in the corridor, or having kind of short conversations over coffee, or dropping into each other's offices at the moment, or into the classroom. So what we're doing is we're having much more regular communications with the students. We do regular class catch-ups, which we would have done anyway. And now in addition to that, we're doing check-ins with the students. We work very closely with our class reps, and Daniel will know from last year, Daniel was one of our class reps as well, that we do work very closely with the class reps. We listen to the student feedback. We work very closely to ensure it's the best experience possible within the constraints that we currently have. So for example, last year we would have introduced in March a series of online masterclasses. And in fact, it was Daniel as our class rep came to us, and he had a suggestion that we bring in one of our experts, Jim Power, who is an economics expert, to speak about the implications of COVID-19. So in fact, that session was really successful, really popular, and it kicked off a series of online masterclasses, which we ran every month on different topics for the students. So I suppose our philosophy is that we want to work with the students to co-create the experience. We're very open to ideas. We're very flexible. You know, we never say no to anything. We always have an open mind. And that has been our approach. And that is the approach of faculty. And if something doesn't work, we'll do it again and we'll try it in a different way. So it's been a very interesting year. It's been a challenging year for students. It's been a challenging year for staff. And we've all had to be really, really adaptable. And I suppose that's really the approach we're taking. If something doesn't work, we do it differently, and we look for constant feedback, and we look for ideas, and we want the students to kind of work with us on that to make sure that they have the best experience. So I'm not sure, Daniel or Shri, if you'd like to add to that, because I know we went in mid-March, just when we came back from our international trips, we went online again, and certainly they might be able to speak to their own experience last year.
Hi, Sophie. Yeah, I don't mind speaking on that a little bit. I guess it's probably important for the people on this call to note that you'll be starting in September 2021. So fingers crossed this won't be an issue for you, and the worst is behind us. But I guess we were plunged into it in March 2020, and although it was an upset or upheaval or however you want to describe it, I think we definitely made the best of unfamiliar situation, or whatever way you want to describe it. We definitely made the best of it, and I think the important point to note is what Sophie said there, that the college as a whole, Sophie's team and the wider college as a whole, is really open to working with the MBA students. And I guess there's probably nearly an expectation on the MBA class to make the experience for yourself also, not to just sit there and expect things to happen. There's an expectation on the students. The class is generally full of, very smart, bright individuals. So it's there's an expectation on the students to, work with the college also. But I couldn't agree more with what Sophie said there. There's definitely very good collaboration between the students and Sophie's wider team. Maybe Shri has something different than I'd have to say.
Oh, no, I just wanted to add to Sophie's point about, how Dan brought up the master classes. I thought that was a really good utilization of a bad time, because like Dan mentioned, we were just plunged into it. It was completely new. And I think anybody in the seminar who's hoping to join for the 2021 program, I think it might just be a completely different world for you. Hopefully everything will be back to normal and good, and you will be here in the beautiful campus. But I think for us since March, I think the college did a very, very good job of doing the best they could, all circumstances considered. And it's like Sophie mentioned, it was important to understand that there are a lot of regulations that were set in place by the government. So it wasn't like we could have done away with it. But I think all things considered, they did do a really good job of trying to incorporate. The leadership development program still went on. We still had our public speaking courses, and we went on with what could be as close to normal as possible. So yeah, that's all from me.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sri. We're almost at the end of the session. We'd like to still give some focus on a couple of questions more before we round off. I'm aware we have more questions, but they will be taken offline and be answered later by the staff. Question from David is, when do you expect to launch the January 2021 EMBA? Jessica?
I think that's a question for Sophie, if she's there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we have an executive MBA that I mentioned that will be a monthly delivery. So that will be in January, that will be in 2021. We had considered January as a launch date, but we've actually decided not to go ahead in January. So it will be 2021, but that's being worked out at the moment, David. So the monthly delivery, I'm anticipating will likely be September 21 as well, but has to be decided. So we haven't actually launched a program for January 21. It was something we considered, and you may have heard about that, but definitely 2021 to be decided in terms of the monthly delivery program. So we still have obviously our full-time program, and we have our weekly executive MBA on a Monday and a Thursday, but our monthly delivery, where you come once a month on a Friday, Saturday, the launch date hasn't been fully confirmed as of yet. So I hope that answers your question. We'll obviously, the minute we do have the details, we'll advertise that and put the details on our website. So I hope that we will know that very soon. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Great. Last question for today, a bit about the career opportunities. I think that's for everybody interesting and relevant. Obviously, Ireland has, and Dublin specifically, have great base of a lot of companies and known for that. Besides Ireland, can you quickly say something also about the possibility to work in the EU? Since Ireland is not part of the Schengen area, is that something you can say a little bit about the work opportunities after the MBA?
Hi, yeah, I don't know if that's the question I just answered. No, I think it's a slightly different one. I guess there were two or three parts to that question. I guess the first thing to say is that if you join our class, probably be in a class where the majority of people have a preference for working in Ireland afterwards. So we usually see quite a high proportion of people working in Ireland and in Dublin after the MBA because that's their preference. Are there opportunities outside of Ireland and in the EU? Absolutely. So, for example, we've just been working with Amazon, who have 2 big MBA programs, and they're largely recruiting for other EU countries, so UK, Spain, France, Germany, etc. And that would be the same for some of the other companies that we work with. But I guess it's probably just to set the expectation. The preference of most people in the class, their reason for being at Smurfit is often to either remain in Ireland or transition to Ireland, or we have some Irish students who've been working abroad for a number of years and they're coming home as well. So, absolutely, like I said, opportunities elsewhere. But if you're an international student, you just bear in mind the visa situation. So if you're coming to work at Smurfit, you would get a 2-year post-study work visa for Ireland, but obviously that's for here. It doesn't extend to other EU countries. So that is one thing to bear in mind.
Okay, great. Thank you. With that, we round off the session for today. Thank you very much. We do have 2 more polling questions for the audience, as we'd like to hear your feedback. Still 10 seconds on the screen to answer this one. Did you receive the information you required during today's webinar? We'd like to hear how this was helping you. If it was a yes or not sure, or a no. Okay, thank you for submitting the answers. Then we go over to the next question. What are the key deciding factors in your choice of an MBA program? We'll give you a minute to think about that. Give us a bit of an idea on your key deciding factors. You can write that in the panel and go ahead. In the meantime, I like to still ask one question to Jessica. I saw a couple of people answer, were wondering about this. Was the application deadline? Could you perhaps restate that?
Absolutely. We offer rolling admissions, which means we don't have hard deadlines as such. But what I would say is if you were applying internationally, I would recommend that you apply as soon as possible on this side of Christmas or very early in the new year, primarily for scholarship opportunities. If you don't have a GMAT and you need to get a GMAT done, it gives you plenty of time because obviously with COVID, there can be delays around that. And thirdly, visas. It helps you get your visa in time. It helps you get your accommodation sorted out, everything like that. So no hard deadlines as such, but definitely probably spring would be the latest I would recommend applying.
Great. Thank you very much. Perfect. Then we go over the last polling question of today. If you intend to apply for the UCD Smurfit MBA. We hope this presentation helped you in deciding for that and that your questions were answered and that you get a lot of useful information from both the staff and the students. And just to mention again, the questions that are not answered, I'm aware there are various ones. Those will be sent to the appropriate persons, for sure to Jessica as well, to answer them later offline. And having said that, we are rounding off the session. Thank you, everybody, for joining. From my side, also the presenters. And the last word over to Jessica to finish off this session. And thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Luke. Thank you for all your help today. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. I think it was a really great session and lots of questions and answers and, feedback from people. So I do hope you'll consider the program. There's a lot of information available, as I touched on. So I very much recommend having a look at our recorded webinars, registering for the open day happening on the 21st of November. And as Luke said, any questions that haven't been answered will be sent on to me. So I will get back to you in due course. But if you do have any questions in the meantime, or if you think of any more questions, you can always email mba@ucd.ie. Its best email is best at the moment because we're still working remotely and I will be able to get back to you there. So thank you very much again for today and I hope to see your application soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.